There is a very disturbing situation out of Arizona involving the mother of NBC News anchor Savannah Guthrie today. Her mother is missing. Her mother, Nancy Guthrie, is missing as of this hour, around 2 p.m. Eastern. She lives in Arizona, out in Tucson, and she's been missing, they believe, since possibly Saturday night. That was the last anyone saw her. Her mother's 84 years old and was dropped off by a friend back at her house on Saturday evening after a church function around 9:45 in the evening, was supposed to be at church the next morning and didn't show, which is when they started to worry about her. She did not show up. She lives in a reportedly $1 million home. So it's a nice home. It's got a swimming pool out in Arizona. And the police are making clear they believe that home is a crime scene. Here is SOT 33C with the Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos.
We expended a lot of resources for a missing person that we typically always do. Our search and rescue volunteers, our search and rescue teams, other agencies, Borstar from Border Patrol sent their canines out. They worked tirelessly all day yesterday and all day tonight. All day yesterday and all last night. To no avail. As I said yesterday, we saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime, and we're asking the community's help.
We do in fact have a crime scene. This is shocking. Joining me now to discuss it is Matt Murphy. He's a former federal prosecutor. And Matt, this sounds about as serious as it can get. That's the sheriff on camera saying she was 84. She did not have dementia. She had limited mobility, but saying whatever they see inside of that home has led them to determine that it is a, quote, crime scene. What do you make of that?
Well, when it comes to appeals to the public like this, Megyn, people tend to come out of the woodwork. I know that I read that she needs medication every hour or every 24 hours. And if she doesn't get it, that can be fatal for her. So time clearly is of the essence, but they seem pretty sure that a crime took place. We don't know what that information is yet, but these are brutal because it's a race against the clock. And look, this is one of the cases that you see a lot where older people with dementia wander off, but they've been very affirmative that she was mentally sound, and this is really bad.
Yeah, the police officer, the sheriff said, we believe she did not leave of her own volition, that she left behind her keys, her ID, her purse, her phone, everything. I mean, now no 84-year-old woman leaves the house without her purse. That is just a fact. They just don't leave without their purses, never mind their phone or their keys. And so all of that is left behind, and there's something else in the house, I'm gleaning, that leads them to believe it is a, quote, crime scene, because he said there are other things at the scene that show she did not leave on her own. Maybe he's still referring to her belongings, but maybe there's something more.
You know, this is and this is wild speculation here on my part, Megyn, because we just don't know the facts yet. But when I was a junior law clerk, going all the way back to 1992, I was assigned to a project where a 79-year-old woman was brutally attacked in her home. And, you know, there is no real age limit to what sexual predators, and again, there's no evidence to support that other than I'm just sharing my own personal experience. Like, nobody ages out of that as being a potential victim, and it's.
So if you were the prosecutor in this jurisdiction and they looped you in on where do we begin, you would not be ruling out sex predators. I mean, you would be looking at everyone.
It'd be the first place I would look. It'd be the first place my detectives would look. Now, again, I don't know. We don't know the facts, but right when you start a career as either a police officer or a prosecutor or even the mental health field, you know, this is the shocking reality to the most vulnerable among us, which are the very, very young and the very, very old, the way certain people will prey on them is it undermines your faith in humanity. As we've talked about before, with all the good people that will come out and hopefully help here, and hopefully this poor lady will be recovered safely. But it's Monday now, and she was last seen after being dropped off from a church event, of all things, on Saturday night. And they are, it sounds like they are really desperate. And again, we don't know all the facts, but yeah, this does not look good. I worked homicide for 17 years, but I did 4 years of sex crimes too. And this has all the scary components of cases that don't end well.
Oh God, the sheriff, this is awful. He said, I want to stress to you, and this is really important, Ms. Guthrie, Nancy Guthrie, is of great sound mind. This is not a dementia-related issue. She is as sharp as a tack. The family wants everybody to know this is not somebody who just wandered off. Her physical limits are based on age. And, we get old, so it's more physical, but she clearly is sharp as a tack. So as you point out, it's not a dementia situation, nor does she even sound capable of roaming far. Doesn't sound like she really could, go for the long walk and just get lost or what have you.
Hopefully what they find, Megyn, is they will, and again, I would love to know what they found inside the house. But if her ATM card is gone, maybe somebody kidnapped her and they're going to ATM machines. That would almost be the best case scenario here. But usually that's going to be a few hours, not a couple of days. But yeah, we just don't have enough. But look, whenever you make an appeal to the public like this, people really want to help. And the problem is that you have limited resources in any missing investigation like this. And when you make an appeal to the public and you're up against the clock, they're going to get a ton of information from well-meaning people that are going to want to help that leads nowhere. So you've got to check off all those dead ends. And so this sheriff knows that. Any law enforcement officer who's worked a missing case knows that. So if they've made an appeal to the public like this, they're semi-desperate. And that also is very scary.
I hesitate to even bring this up. The sheriff said the following. Hold on, my team just sent this to me. That the authorities are not aware of any threats against Savannah, who is in Arizona now. The FBI is aware of the case, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection is also assisting. Now, that's interesting, Matt, because it's so close to the southern border. But now, that's a different element. And also her neighbor, Nancy Guthrie's neighbor, said they saw her front door open, wide open. We hadn't really factored in the Mexican border situation. What would you be doing about that?
Look, this is one of those things that I think the term is triggering for me. Okay. We have, and again, this is blind speculation. We just don't know enough. But that case I was just telling you about, this poor 79-year-old woman, what happened on that, her name was Mary Ward, and she was a 79-year-old Jehovah's Witness who was brutally raped in her home by a drunk immigrant. Okay, and this guy came up. He was a little bit older, and this is about sex offenders. This is not about politics. Okay, but there are a lot of places in Central America, particularly Guatemala, El Salvador, a lot of rural areas of Mexico, that are populated by incredibly wonderful, warm people who are also fiercely protective of their families. And what happens, and this is something that nobody talks about, Megyn, they have a thing called linchamientos, which literally stands for the lynchings, because the good people in those areas don't want sex offenders around them any more than we do, and they're fiercely protective of their families, and they will run some of these guys out of town because they don't have functioning judiciary, and technology hasn't caught up with cooperation in law enforcement to the extent that hopefully it will one day. And that was a guy who came up. He was over 30 years old, Mr. Garcia, and we knew nothing about him. We knew nothing about his background. It was really hard to try to figure out. And the thing is, in that case, that woman was she was suffering from terminal cancer. Well, after she was raped, she engaged and experienced the classic symptoms of what is known as rape trauma syndrome, and she died in 31 days. So our task was, can we figure out a homicide liability theory here? And we eventually did. We charged him with murder, but the homicide unit passed on it, and it was tried by the sexual assault deputy, and it was an acceleration of death. It's like if your felony conduct accelerates somebody's death, should that be homicide liability? I believe very strongly it was. And look, personally, I've had really good experiences working with local authorities in places like Mexico and some other places in Central America, because we all agree sex offenders are the worst. And again, blind speculation here. I pray to God that that's not what happened here. But it is in a lot of these border towns in Southern California, it can be an issue just because we don't know who these people are when they come up. And the sex offenders, a lot of times, will get run out of their local towns, because if they don't, they'll get lynched. And nobody ever talks about this, but it's a real thing. It's been studied down there. And who could blame them? So these guys, they come north. I think the vast majority of people come up looking for a better life, like my ancestors did, but there are certain people that do come up that are running away from this. And as we know, sexual predators don't get better, and sometimes they just go north. Now again, I know I'm going to piss off a bunch of people.
Yeah, we don't have any reason to believe. Yeah,
we don't have any reason to believe
I get it. The audience.
But you're asking
We're
me
just
based
talking
on my
about
experience, and this is
how you would investigate.
This is the first place my twisted, jaundiced brain goes after working those cases for 21 years. So I hope I'm wrong.
Because he said that they've got homicide detectives involved. So why would they, he said that they have homicide detectives involved. We do, in fact, have a crime scene there. There are other things at the scene that show she did not leave on her own. So that is certainly suggesting she was kidnapped. She was taken in some way. I don't know, if kidnapped is the right word, but that she did not leave of her own volition, and she is missing. So that means another person was involved. And what does it tell us, if anything, that homicide is involved? Like when they make the decision of what unit is going to go investigate the crime, Matt, how do they figure that out?
Well, the homicide detectives tend to be the most experienced and the very best. So hopefully, again, I pray that they just brought in their best detectives, because it was such an urgent case. And that's not based on any of the evidence that they found at the scene. They just want the best of the best they have at their disposal to work the case. The fact that the FBI is involved, that's totally appropriate. By the way, Megyn, I've had really good experiences on missing cases with working with the FBI. Those agents tend to be hyper intelligent, super dedicated, and really, really impressive police officers. The fact that we got which agency did you say? Border Patrol that's working it?
Yeah. Yes. Also, U.S. Customs and Border Protection is also assisting.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good. But the federal agencies, again, and they are fine. They're fine investigators, and we worked with them as well. I mean, I think I've worked with every federal agency that exists during my time as a prosecutor, especially when you try to repatriate Americans that have run or foreign nationals that have committed crimes in the United States. I've worked with everything from the Czechoslovakian border police, to the FBI, Mexican homicide units, and by and large, when you're talking about vulnerable old women, people really tend to forget the borders very quickly and work together, hopefully seamlessly, to solve this. I hope that's what's happening here, but this is this does not look good.
I mean, it's possible that she, at 84, you can have a stroke pretty easily. Dementia's not something that hits you all of a sudden, but something could have happened. There could have been some sort of a neurological event that led her to wander in a way that was atypical of her.
It could,
without her keys, without her purse. Yep. Like that would be a good scenario if she is just wandering and lost. The other problem is, to your point on the border, Tucson's 75 miles from the border, from the southern border. It's very close. Now, she didn't walk 75 miles, but somebody easily could have driven up 75 miles. But the one thing we have going for us here, Matt, is that I think she had cameras. I read that there were cameras on her, in her home. Now, I don't know whether they were operational, but the neighbors are going to have a Ring camera. In today's day and age, somebody's got a camera on the house, or at least the neighborhood.
They were asking for that publicly. That was one of the things. Now, if she did have cameras on her house, that may be why they're so sure that this was actually a crime. And look, my mom had a stroke, Megyn, and she had a series of strokes that ultimately she passed away because of it a couple years ago. But she started to wander, and and strokes do hit people suddenly. So hopefully it's something like that. But I did see the sheriff say that they were searching for her last night using thermal cameras. They were searching the area, and they met with negative results.
International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There is a never-ending list of reasons that gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold, so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.